But no, let's do some Celine Dion, shall we?
Yeah.
Because why the hell not? So first things first, as I mentioned yesterday, actually no, I didn't talk about the flats, but in order to find the major key of the flat, we look at the second last flat in the list. So that will tell us what key we're in, and that is on the A space. So it is an A flat. So this key is A flat major.
Okay.
Any questions on that? So the second last in the list. And just to go back, so in order to read the lines on the treble clef, we go every good boy deserves fruit. And just give me a nod, Jess, if this is kind of sounding familiar. And in order to find the spaces, we use the word face.
Yep.
Okay, and it's from the bottom up. So this guy is an E, but so for every.
Yep.
And because what the key signature does, it modifies all the notes on that line, no matter where you see it, unless it's dictated otherwise. So that's actually an E flat. Okay? Because the key signature has a B flat, an E flat, an A flat, and a D flat. So that modifies every note on the stave. Do you have any questions on that?
No. Why is education? That seems complicated already.
Stay on the journey and
Yes.
please voice any questions you might have. My biggest priority for you is to make sure that you have a good understanding of how to identify notes, even if it takes you a while. First and foremost, the key signature dictates that any note that you see, the key signature says that there's a B flat, there's an E flat, there's an A flat. Excuse me, just get to my...
Yes, I used to know this. Yeah,
that's all right. E flat, B flat, E flat, A flat, and D flat. That's on the list there. So anytime you see a B, it's going to be flattened. Every time you see an E, it's going to be flat. Every time you see an A, it's going to be flattened. And D, it's going to be flattened.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, and so when we see it on the piano, I see an E here, and I'm going to flatten it. And to flatten it, you go one to the left by a semitone. And I'm going quite barreling through a few different concepts here, but a semitone is any adjacent note on the keyboard.
Yeah.
So any adjacent note creates a semitone. And if you play them all together, it creates the chromatic scale.
Okay. Yeah, cool. That makes sense.
All right. So here we got, we'll sort of jump from pitches to rhythm because I think rhythm's always really important to chat about. These guys are semiquavers in the accompaniment. So in the right hand, semiquavers, which in the time signature of 4/4, who can break down what 4/4 means?
4 crotchet beats per bar.
4 crotchets in a bar, yeah, or 4 quarter notes in a bar. So the bottom note is indicating that it's quarter notes, and the top number is indicating. It's interesting, like quiff going on with my hair. The top number is indicating how many. So the top is how many, the bottom is the value. So it's 4 crotchets in a bar. Most pop songs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and you want to subdivide that so you have an understanding of what occurs between 1 and 2. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so they're quavers, 1 and 2. Because quavers, I should be able to fit 8 quavers into a bar, and I should be able to fit 4 quarters. So 4 crotchets into a bar. So 4 crotchets. Each of these crotchets go into 2 quavers. Meanwhile, quavers will commonly be grouped like this. So you won't always see the beam just sort of on its own in isolation. They'll actually be beamed together. Okay? And I can break these quavers down even more, and I can break them down to semiquavers, also known as 16th notes. Okay, so when I have a crotchet, 1, 2, 3, 4, I can also have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then I can also have 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and E. So that's how we break down the 16th notes. one iana, or you can also use the word semiquaver if you want to. So you're just looking for a word that has 4 syllables and can be split evenly across the beat. But when you say one iana, it allows you to clock exactly where the numbers or where the beats are, where they lay. So one, E, and generally we sort of break it down like that. So when I look at...
You know, one E and a two.
Yeah, you need to do
You
that.
could say Daniele.
say I don't know if you can use my name. I'm still like, it's debatable whether my name is 3 or 4 syllables.
Sorry, didn't want to bring
But,
it
you know,
up.
I'll have a chat to my parents about it.
Daniele.
Anytime, yeah, exactly. Anytime I try to improvise my name into a song, it just doesn't fit. It's always awkward. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to just move this out of the way. Let's just put it over. Just put it over down here for a second. We don't need to worry about that. So when I look at this accompaniment, firstly, I see the melody in the right hand. So we've got voice, right hand, and then left hand. Commonly, okay? The melody is here, the word morning, but also the melody is in the accompaniment. And a good accompanist will omit the melody. They won't play it. They'll allow the singer to sing the melody. But when you get music from music notes, generally the melody will be embedded into the piano accompaniment. But it's general rule of thumb that an accompanist playing in an audition for you will generally leave out the melody. That's kind of a good rule of thumb. So I see put it in the right octave. Morning. I'll go down the octave, the music will go up. Good. So they're quaver connected to a dotted crotchet connected to a minim, whilst the accompaniment is doing 16th notes. So I go 1 iana, 2 iana, 3 iana, 4 iana. Who can tell me what notes? What's the first note in the accompaniment?
C.
C. And what about this guy?
A.
A
Flat.
flat. Yeah.
Sorry.
Good. No, it's good. It's just one of those habitual things to get stuck into. A flat, exactly, because any A that we see, we're going to flatten it. And just how we work that out, Jess. So once you work out that your every is the bottom line, you go back one space, back in the alphabet. So we've had E, go back to D, because we're going back in the alphabet. Go back to C, to your next line. Go to your next space, back to B, and then go back to one line and go to A. So you're just you're sequencing back in the alphabet. You're going backwards, and you're also taking every line and space as you go. So every line that you go to, you go one further in the alphabet. So if you go up the stave, you're going to keep going down the alphabet. If you go down the stave, you're going to go backwards in the alphabet because you're going lower.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Makes sense. And all the flats that are at the start of the...
In the key signature.
Thank you, key signature. Is the notes that will be always a flat in that key
Always
signature.
a flat. Okay, there is a symbol that will indicate when they don't want you to play a flat. But yeah, exactly, that's correct. So every time, it's just to save space a little bit as well. It saves space, but there's also a few other reasons. But so now I see an E here on the word morning, but because the key signature indicates that the E needs to be flattened, I need to play an E flat.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I've got my accompaniment here, and what we want to do is try to find as many patterns as possible when reading music. And so for me, I can see that that's a pattern. They just repeat. It goes C, A flat, C, A flat, C, A flat, etc. It actually just keeps on going. Okay, so now I've got, so Semiquaver, so I go 1 iana, 2 iana, 3 iana, 4 iana, diga, 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 diga. Okay, this is actually, if you're familiar with the song, it's more of an electronic kind of a synthy kind of line. It's a great tune. Does anyone know it? The whispers in the morning. I'll never sleep at night. I'll do my best Celine impersonation. You
Hey,
guys know the chorus.
Daniele,
Yes.
with that the top tie, do you
Morning.
just hold
That one?
it the whole time then?
Yeah, it's a bit
After you
ridiculous.
played it, you just
be
really
honest.
play it the whole time, yeah? Because it's held and then it's another minim.
Yeah, so look, the pianist wouldn't play that because it's the melody. But if
Okay,
you're
so-
interpreting that as the vocalist, so we can see that
Yeah, okay.
it's exactly mirrored. Yeah, so let's just break down that tied rhythm for a second. So firstly, whenever we're breaking down rhythm in a bar, we want to make sure that we can clearly see where the beats are. So beat 1, okay. Beat 1 lines up with this first semiquaver. Beat 2 lines up with this second group of semiquavers. Beat 3 lines up with this third group of semiquavers, and beat 4 lines up with the fourth group of semiquavers. When I'm reading this rhythm, I'm trying to look for the smallest rhythm in the group that I'm trying to read when I'm dividing the bar into subdivisions. So, the smallest rhythm in the melody in this current bar is what note value? What's the shortest note value?
Over.
Cool. A quaver. That's the shortest note value. So, if in order to subdivide my 4 into quavers, what will I do?
Subdivide what, sorry?
So in order to subdivide the 4s into even quaver beats, what will I do now?
Is
What
that
am I
where
gonna
you
change?
figure out
What am I
the
going to add to the numbers?
one and a
Correct.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Sorry, it was not the best phrase question. So I'm going to make it I'm just going to make it quavers because the melody has no semiquavers in there, so I don't need to subdivide so granular to a semiquaver. I actually just need to subdivide to quavers so I have a good understanding. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Meanwhile, whilst this 1 and 2 and, the accompaniment is going chica 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a fucking chica 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 chica. So now I've subdivided into quavers. I see that the first morn lasts for 1 quaver.
Mhm.
Yep. The dotted crotchet, as we said yesterday, what does the dot do to the note value?
That's half the value.
Adds half the value, yeah. So how many quavers does a crotchet last just on its own? How many quavers in a crotchet? 2.
2.
So that is to say that when you hear 2 quavers, dicka, dicka. You can also have D. So that's a crotchet. D off. That's a crotchet, okay? As opposed to 2 quavers. Diga, diga. Okay, so one is just 2 notes and one's just 1 note, but they last for the same amount of time. It's just dependent on what's rearticulated or not. So if a crotchet lasts for 2 quavers and then a dot adds half of that value, how many quavers will it then add up to?
3.
3. So I'm going to plus 1 quaver to it. So now it's going to last for 3 quavers. Now remember, I've divided this bar into quavers already. So all I need to do is have a good understanding of what of the ands and the twos and whatnot of what I've written above the bar are quavers. So that number 1 is a quaver. Without the and, it's just a quaver. If I added the and to the 1, that's a crotchet. It's 2 quavers. The dotted crotchet of ing lasts for 3 quavers. So then I can make up the rest of the space. So more is going to be 1, and 2 and is going to be the full value of ing. Not only that, there's a tie, which is this curved line, to the E flat on beats 3 and 4. Who knows what that's going to actually do to the note?
That's going to extend it all the way to the end of the bar.
Yep. So you're going to sing morning 3 4 off. That tie is telling me to elongate the note and don't rearticulate it. Now, hey Jess. Oh, other Jess. There's another Jess. Sorry. Not just
Like,
Hi,
I'm still
everyone,
here.
again. Let's do it all over again. He's lost the plot. There's a Jess hiding in the depths of Zoom. So we've divided the bar into quavers. More. There she is. Yay. And the ing is and to and the tie stipulates that we continue ing until the end of the bar. Now, if there's no tie there, we don't hopefully have to have another syllable. Otherwise, you'd have to go ing, ing. You just repeat the same syllable again, which wouldn't really make sense. So right now, we've got this bar that's 1, 2, 3, that subdivides into 1 and 2 and 3, and then again, 1e and a 2e and a 3 and accompaniments going giga 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 1e and a 2e and a 3 and a 4e and the melody is going to go 3 4 2 3 4 off. So that's 1 and off, which is morning 3 4 off. Okay. As opposed to morning. What rhythm would that be?
Crotchet.
Crotchet.
Crotchet, 2 crotchets. Yeah. Morning, which is 1 and 2 and. But it is 1 and morning. Okay. Very simple rhythm, but you can actually kind of glean a lot from it. Cool. How you doing, Jess?
Hi.
Welcome.
Thanks. I'm in the wrong
Crazy.
one, but it doesn't matter.
Oh, you can just chill out,
Sorry.
enjoy. That's all right.
Sorry I'm late and early.
Actually, intermediate's going to be every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Cute. So sorry I'm late and wrong.
It's what we're here to do during these times. But hey, if you're just enjoying just chilling out and watching,
I'll learn something, don't worry.
I hope so.
I will.
I always philosophize as well, so there's always something that goes on. So, as I said yesterday, what is this guy doing? Thick line, 2 dots.
Repeat.
It's the beginning of a repeat. Okay, so and now we just need to find where it ends. Comedy show.
Wow, far away.
It's quite far away. Yeah. So for a pianist, that's going to be mildly frustrating, depending on how you lay out your pages.
Yeah,
If you
it's
actually
not,
lay out your pages
not
like
well
this,
laid out.
no, it's not fantastic. Yeah.
Where?
Linter strikes again.
Where's the end?
So the end is on page 4 of this repeat,
Oh.
and it's look, if the folder is laid out like this, it means the pianist just has to go back 1 page to get back there. But still, it's not the best. But you could always get super meticulous and reprint the pages. I sometimes do that. I actually I duplicate the pages and then just have the pianist just going forward rather than backwards. That's something that's quite outlandish, but
It's kind.
It's kind. I want to be kind. To
Can I
my
ask
friends.
a question near where you circled the first repeat?
Of course you can. I'll go back to it.
Whoa, there's a lot of pages around.
Yeah.
Oh.
This one?
Yeah, just
My avid circling.
all those ties and bizzos.
Yeah, it's a bit of a
going on.
mess, isn't it?
It's really like, whoa.
Are you looking at the melody?
Yeah.
Let me find it. Where is it gone? So what it's doing here, it's squeezing in 2 verses onto 1 stave. Okay, so we can break this down. Firstly, you'll notice that there are little notes and there are slightly larger notes.
Yeah.
Okay, the little notes we refer to as Q notes commonly, but in a songbook kind of world, the little notes are actually referring to either an alternative rhythm or, in this case, the second verse. So that little note actually refers to the word times. Okay, so already you can break that down and you can see that not only is the little note there, it's actually tied. We see the stem is actually joined with the verse 1 stem.
Mhm.
Okay, this is where things get a little bit complex. But it's actually just overlaid, it's superimposed. And then once you break that down, it's like, oh, okay, you're only singing the word times for one note for the whole bar, which kind of allows you to kind of look at that piece of music and go, oh, okay, all I have to worry about is the little note. Commonly, you would see another stem down to kind of indicate that there's two voices. We call them voices if I'm arranging on Sibelius. I'd say that one is voice, this is voice 2, and then this is voice 1. And we just overlay them, and then hopefully the computer kind of works it out that they can actually look a little bit cleaner than that.
So just for on the second time, would you sing that first semiquaver on the, I don't know what that's, it's tied, so I'm
Yeah,
confused.
so it's tied, and this is where things can get a little bit messy, but it is tied it's tied from here, 1, 2, even though there may be times. So it's tied from the word be.
Okay, so that's the phrase.
Yeah.
Before.
So it's just saying, hold the word be times. Now, if we had to subdivide this, how far will if I want to work out where to land the word times, how far will I subdivide my bar, as we did before? Semiquavers, because it's the smallest note value, okay, and I want to be as precise as possible. So firstly, I'm going to look at where the beats line up. This can take a bit of practice, okay, because sometimes you can't always see where beat 1, 2, and 3 is. I'm actually going to use the bass clef as a reference, because I can clearly see beat 1 is here. That's 2 semiquavers. That's a quaver. Okay, cool. That's a crotchet. So that's a whole beat.
Mhm.
This is beat 2. That's a crotchet rest. This is beat 3. That's a quaver plus a quaver rest. And then quaver, quaver, 4. Okay, I'm going to fill out the ands, because the ands are where the quavers are. And
Hold
then I'm going to go 1 E and 1 E and 1 E and 1 E and which is slightly irrelevant for the bass clef, except for the first rhythm. 1 E, ding, da. So the bass clef is going. Thanks, Brady. The bass clef is going. So if I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a 1 E. Yeah, 1 E, and then rest for beat 2, and then land beat 3, because we rest for beat 2, and then we land beat 3, and then we do the and of beat 4. Okay, so there's a lot of syncopation here. It goes 1 E, 2, 3, and. So 1 E, 3, 4, and doom, doom. That's the rhythm there, okay? So I'm using that to line up my crotchets first. Then once I've kind of worked out where the crotchets lay, I can go, okay, 1 is here, 2 is here, 3 is here. I don't have to do it for the whole bar because the rest of the word is just a dotted minim. How many crotchets will a dotted minim last for?
1.5. I mean 3.
3. So yeah, 1 minim is 2 crotchets, and then add a half to it. It's going to last for 3 crotchets, which means that it's going to last for 2, 3, 4. It's going to last for 3 beats. Okay, so your beats 2 and 3 and 4 are already taken care of. But I want to get the precision of this word times on the correct beat. Most commonly, when we're approaching this, we would approximate it a little bit. 1 E and we'd probably put it on the and. We go maybe times 1 and 1 times 1 times. But I want to get that precision because it's pop song. I want to get that real 16th. 1 E and a 2 E and a what times? 1 E. 1 E. Yeah. What times? Maybe times. So you notice that it's just a little different than where we want to place the beat. We generally just want to place it on an even 1 or an and. There may be times. That's very theatre kind of way of approaching it. It's very sort of plotted, you know. But we want to get that 1 E and a 2 E and a maybe times. Be times. So 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E. How's everyone going with that? So it's on the E of 1. Now, the second step from a vocal perspective is going maybe times rather than maybe times, yeah? As you try to get the musical rhythm, the tendency is to shorten the previous word. But Celine Dion, and she is just a rock god in so many different ways. So we want to have the line straight through the word be, and then we want to get the syncopation of times. Just know that when we're trying to develop a rhythm like that, usually we cut the previous word a little bit short in order to, I don't know, just prepare ourselves. Any questions?
Do you mind explaining the timing for body? I'm just trying to understand that one too.
Yeah. It's not really. It's not really correct. That should be a that should be a group of 16th notes. Because you look at the piano accompaniment. It's dee da dee da 3 4 1 e and da 3 4. Okay. So that still lasts for beats 3 and 4 and they're not quavers. That's a blatant mistake. So what are our notes? Even then it's a little bit wrong because you wouldn't have 2 Fs in a row, you'd just have a quaver. So that should actually look like semiquaver. Oh no, hold on. Let me get rid of that. So I can still beam it like that, but it should actually be a quaver in the middle and then a semiquaver at the end. And then that's going to be tied. So that's what the rhythm is actually. So that's 1 E and R. Okay, because the ER is the equivalent of 1 quaver. So 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E. 1 E. Da da. Super syncopated. Yeah. Is that a bit clearer? Probably didn't help.
Yeah.
The notation was completely
Yeah,
wrong.
I was so confused by like 6 different notes for 2 syllables and all that. So that makes sense.
Da-ba-da. That's all it is. Da-da-da. Body. So once you get that syncopation, now once you get the accompaniment from the beginning, jika kika 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 gaga, you can start to get the syncopation of the word as you go on er. Anyway, that's super.
Can I ask if you were playing the actual accompaniment for it, so
that
the
section.
A flat on the bottom and then the and C, you'd play F and F.
This is an interesting one because I feel like I would actually omit.
Would you play the A?
I'd get rid of that.
C. Yeah. So you'd
I'd
play.
probably play more. I'd also listen to the track for this song because I think the notation's not really great. So I'd probably play. I'd probably go. So. But that melody in the second half of the bar is much more prominent in the actual recording. This first section of the bar is just trying to give the singer and also the song a bit of harmony. I'd probably just hold it for 2 beats and get that melody across. And then back here, see, it's held. That A flat's just held because a song like this is all about the bass, and I think there's like a shaker going on or something like that. So I want to have strong pulse of the bass. Even here, I wouldn't go do 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 do. And I know that on beat 3 and 4 there is some crotchets there. Maybe I'll play that, but I keep the notes tied because from my perspective, I'm trying to keep the right hand as patty as possible. So long chords, whilst the bass is nice and short. But that's just my understanding of the style and kind of my understanding of the song.
Can I ask why then, if that's the accompaniment and they've got the voice on top, why would they write the notes at the singer is singing.
Yeah.
As in like this crotchet here.
Like the tops of the notes, so like the Fs there.
Oh, like why is it there?
Yeah, like why would you put that in then?
Why is it there?
Yeah, because the singer's
It's
singing,
kind of just
not
common practice. It's
of-
kind of like correct, absolutely. It's funny because I mean, when I started playing the piano, I I used to get songs like this and be very like and play everything. Even when I was with the singer, it was totally annoying. You know, you see a good transcription and they don't have the melody written, and then you've got these music notes versions of songs, and they just incorporate the melody into the accompaniment. Maybe possibly presuming that they want to make it accessible to everyone and anyone can sing along. I don't really know, to be honest.
Maybe it's I don't know. Maybe it's so that the singer
Help
can
the
hear
ears a little bit.
the melody whilst.
Yeah.
You know.
And look, a competent pianist should be able to play the accompaniment as well as add the melody in on the fly. But again, a song like this, I take all of this sheet music with a large grain of salt, like, because
Oh, it's this song. Sorry, I just realized
yeah,
what it is.
exactly. It's this song.
Is it?
Okay, yeah.
Great song. Great
Just
song.
warble over here.
Yeah. Of course
It's
we
a
know.
great song. Because no one knows the verse. Well, no, it's just got such a powerful chorus. And all I can think about the verse is the din, 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 din. It's like no one's listening to that, Daniele. It's a pulsing. Yeah, so I take it with a large grain of salt, mainly because just on first glance, I see the transcription and it just looks a little bit rubbish, to be honest. And you get a lot of music on music notes that's not the greatest transcription. And I'm also going to kind of use my own judgment to create the best kind of iteration of this song that sounds live and accompanied, but also kind of alluding to its sort of electronic nature as well. So, especially when the drums kick in. Ding, ding. Ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding. So good. Here it is. Now this, I would fill out the chords a little bit more because the accompaniment a bit. Really, there's nothing going on. It's the lamest transcription. So I probably want to. I probably even play power chords sometimes, just to give a bit more of a punch. Yeah. Anyway, we're gonna wrap up our session. Hope you guys learned something. Hope you learned something, everyone, friends.
I did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. And I'll see you all tomorrow for another
Yeah.
session of music.
Wait.
Dan.
Is beginner room tomorrow at 12 o'clock?
Yep.
It is every
Can I
day.
come to
apart
both?
from
And then intermediate
It's
at
just
12:30.
Monday, Wednesday.
You can come to both. You can come to none. You can come to one. You can rock up whenever you want. This is chill. Yeah.
Cool.
This is COVID times. All right. So we got to do what we got to do. Danielle, stop talking. Okay. But yeah, please, I welcome this. With theory, it's like learning via osmosis and just kind of accepting information, even if it doesn't really make sense, can be great. Just like learning a language. Just immersing yourself. Yeah.
Thanks, Daniele.
Maybe I'll
Thank you
continue
so
that
much.
tomorrow.
Thank you, Daniele.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Need a theme song.
Bye, Minka.
Bye.
Bye, Monica. Bye, Aisha.
Bye, Ichi.
So cute. So cute. Oh, see ya.
Bye.